We dive into the raw, unfiltered stories of history's most captivating eras. Tonight, we're stepping back to the California gold rush of 1848 to 1855. Not the shiny, adventurous tale from old Western movies, but the gritty, brutal reality that broke more dreams than it built. Imagine yourself there. The dust, the desperation, the disease. This is a story of hope turned to hardship, where the American dream often ended in a shallow grave. Dim the lights, get comfortable, maybe put on some soft background noise like a crackling fire or distant waves. We'll take it slow, letting the details sink in. If you're ready to journey into the past, let's begin. You wake up with a jolt. The year is 1849, and you're one of the thousands pouring into California. The air is thick with the scent of pine and earth, but soon it'll be overpowered by sweat, smoke, and something far worse. It all started just a year ago, in January 1848, at Sutter's Mill near Coloma. James W. Marshall, a carpenter working for Swiss immigrant John Sutter, spotted flecks of gold in the American River while building a sawmill. Word spread like wildfire, first locally, then exploding across the nation and the world. President James Polk even mentioned it in his State of the Union address that December, confirming the rumors and igniting a frenzy. By the time you arrive, the rush is in full swing. They call you 49ers. After the year so many flooded in, you're not alone. Estimates say over 300,000 people migrated here between 1848 and 1855. From the East Coast, you might have taken the grueling overland route across the Great Plains and Rockies. Months of wagon trains, facing starvation, cholera outbreaks, and attacks from wildlife or desperate travelers. Or perhaps you sailed around Cape Horn, a 6-month voyage plagued by storms, scurvy from vitamin-deficient rations, and cramped quarters breeding disease. Some took the shortcut through Panama, hacking through jungles rife with malaria and yellow fever, only to wait weeks for a ship on the other side. As you step off your ship in San Francisco, then a boomtown exploding from 1,000 residents in 1848 to over 25,000 by 1850, the chaos hits you. The harbor is a graveyard of abandoned vessels. Crews deserted their ships to join the rush, leaving hundreds of hulls rotting in the bay, some even converted into makeshift hotels or stores. Prices are astronomical. A loaf of bread that cost pennies back east now demands $1. Eggs? Up to $3 each. You're paying gold dust for basics, weighing it out on crude scales that savvy merchants often rigged in their favor. You head inland, toward the Sierra Nevada foothills where the gold is. The journey is punishing. Muddy trails clogged with wagons, rivers to ford that could sweep you away in a flash flood. You hear stories of entire parties lost to exhaustion or Indian skirmishes, though Native Americans, whose lands were being invaded, suffered far more from the influx. Tribes like the Miwok and Yokuts saw their populations decimated by diseases brought by newcomers, measles, smallpox, wiping out villages that had thrived for centuries. Finally, you reach the diggings. Placerville, Hangtown they call it, grim names for grim places. Your claim is a patch of riverbed or hillside, staked with a simple notice. But gold isn't just lying around for the taking anymore. In the early days, sure, panning yielded nuggets for lucky ones. You'd swirl dirt and water in a shallow pan, letting heavier gold sink to the bottom. A good day might net you $20 worth, enough to feel like a king. But by now, the easy pickings are gone. You're sluicing, building long wooden boxes to wash larger amounts of gravel, or rocker cradles rocking back and forth in the freezing river water until your hands crack and bleed. Life in the camps is hellish. Tents and shanties cluster along the streams, a sea of canvas flapping in the wind. Sanitation? Non-existent. Men relieve themselves in the same rivers they drink from and wash in. Flies swarm over everything, spreading dysentery and typhoid. Cholera epidemics rip through like a scythe, victims convulsing, dehydrating to death in hours. You've seen bodies piled up, buried in shallow graves that wild animals dig up at night. Scurvy hits hard too. Without fresh fruits or vegetables, your gums bleed, teeth loosen, and old wounds reopen. Miners chew on pine needles or pay exorbitant prices for a single orange shipped from afar. And the violence? It's not the dramatic duels of legend, but raw, alcohol-fueled brawls. Saloons sprout up everywhere, serving rot-gut whiskey that could blind you. Disputes over claims turn deadly. A man might shoot another over a few feet of dirt. Vigilante justice rules, no real law yet. In Hangtown, they hang 3 men from an oak tree for theft, giving the place its name. Lynch mobs form quickly, often targeting foreigners. Speaking of which, the rush isn't just Americans. Australians, Europeans, Mexicans, Sonorans from Mexico were among the first experienced miners here. But the Chinese? They arrive in droves, over 20,000 by 1852, fleeing famine and war back home. They work tirelessly, often on claims abandoned by others, using patient methods like rewashing tailings. But resentment boils over. White miners see them as competition, slapping on the foreign miners' tax, $20 a month, a fortune. Anti-Chinese riots erupt. In 1852, mobs drive hundreds from camps, beating and killing with impunity. No Chinamen allowed signs appear, and the hatred festers, setting the stage for later exclusion laws. You're lucky if you find any gold at all. Most don't. Statistics show only about 1 in 20 miners made a profit. The rest went broke or worse. The real winners? Merchants like Levi Strauss, who sold sturdy denim pants to miners, or Sam Brannan, who bought up all the picks and shovels before announcing the gold find, cornering the market. By 1850, hydraulic mining takes over. Big companies blasting hillsides with high-pressure water cannons, washing away entire landscapes and choking rivers with silt. Independent prospectors like you are squeezed out, forced to work as low-wage laborers for these operations, risking cave-ins and floods. The environmental toll is staggering. Rivers turn to mud, fish die off, farmlands downstream flood with debris. Native ecosystems collapse, and with them the indigenous way of life. The gold rush accelerates California's statehood in 1850. But at what cost? The population boom brings progress. San Francisco becomes a metropolis, but also vice. Gambling dens, brothels, opium houses. Women are scarce. Most miners are young men, leading to a rough, male-dominated society where loneliness drives many to drink or despair. As the sun sets on your first grueling day, you huddle by a campfire, muscles aching, dreaming of striking it rich tomorrow. But deep down you know the odds. The gold rush promised fortune, but delivered mostly failure, forging a nation on the backs of the broken. Alright, let's dive back into the harsh reality of the California gold rush. 1849. You're still here, a weary 49er, chasing a dream that's starting to feel more like a nightmare. The sun's barely up, and you're already knee-deep in icy river water. Your hands raw from panning gravel. The air carries the stench of unwashed bodies and rotting food scraps, mingling with the faint metallic tang of hope. Last night's campfire stories of men finding fist-sized nuggets keep you going, but the truth is sinking in. This life is a gamble, and the house usually wins. You're not just fighting the river or the rock, you're fighting the chaos around you. The mining camps are a melting pot of desperation. Men from Missouri rub shoulders with Chilean vaqueros, French adventurers, and Chinese laborers, all shouting in a dozen languages. Everyone's on edge, guarding their claims like hawks. You've seen fistfights break out over a misstep into someone's staked patch of dirt. Knives flash and sometimes pistols. No sheriff's coming to break it up. Law here is whatever the mob decides. Just yesterday, you heard about a miner strung up for stealing a sack of flour. Not even gold. Hunger does that, it makes men mean. Food is another battle. Your breakfast is a gritty biscuit and weak coffee boiled over the fire. Maybe some beans if you're lucky. Fresh meat? Forget it unless you've got the ammo and time to hunt deer or rabbits. Most miners live on salt pork or dried beef so tough you'd think it was boot leather. Scurvy's creeping in, your gums ache and you're not alone. A trader in camp offers a single apple for $1, and you're tempted, but that's a day's wages for nothing. Back home you'd laugh at such prices. Here it's just survival. The lack of vegetables and fruit means half the camp's nursing bleeding gums or worse by winter. You've heard of men dying from it. Their bodies too weak to fight off a simple cold. The work itself is relentless. Panning's backbreaking, bending over for hours, sifting through mud and stones. Your fingers are numb from the cold water. Your back screams from the strain. Some guys have moved to sluicing, rigging wooden troughs to wash more dirt faster, but it's still a slog. The lucky ones, or the ruthless, have banded together to pool resources, but trust is scarce. You've heard whispers of partners betraying each other, slipping away with the day's haul. One wrong move and you're out here alone, with nothing but a rusty pick and a fading dream. Then there's the weather. California's not all sunny hills. Spring brings flash floods that can drown a camp in minutes, washing away tents, tools, and hope. Summer's brutal, the sun baking you until your skin blisters, and dehydration's a real killer if you don't ration your water. Winter's worse. Snow in the Sierras traps men in their shacks, and frostbite claims fingers and toes. You've seen miners with blackened stumps, still swinging picks because they've got no other choice. Nature doesn't care about your gold fever. It's just another enemy. The social hierarchy in the camps is its own kind of harsh. Americans and Europeans often claim the best spots, bullying others out. Mexicans, who brought mining skills from Sonora, are pushed to marginal claims, despite knowing more than most greenhorns here. Chinese miners, maybe 20% of the camp, are treated like dirt. They work the hardest, resifting tailings others abandon, but face constant harassment. The foreign miners' tax, a $20 monthly fee, is enforced unevenly, mostly against Chinese and Latinos, rarely against Australians or Germans. You've seen tax collectors backed by armed thugs shake down Chinese workers, sometimes beating them for sport. In 1850, the state legislature passed this tax to protect American interests, but it's just a legal way to rob non-whites. Riots break out when tensions boil over. Last month, a mob burned a Chinese camp nearby, leaving bodies in the ashes. No one was arrested. Women are a rarity, maybe one for every 100 men. Some run boarding houses, charging a fortune for a cot and a meal. Others work in the saloons or worse, driven to prostitution by desperation. Widows, orphans, or women abandoned by husbands who chased gold and never came back. They face a brutal life. Disease, violence, and social scorn. Yet, they're vital to the camp's economy, and some miners treat them with a strange mix of reverence and desperation, like they're the last link to civilization. By midday you're exhausted but you keep going. You've found a few flakes of gold, worth maybe $5 after a week's work. It's enough to buy supplies, but not enough to get out of this hellhole. The big money's gone to the corporations now. Hydraulic mining outfits are moving in, blasting entire hillsides with water cannons, tearing up the land. They hire men like you for $2 a day. But the work's even more dangerous. Cave-ins, floods, and machinery accidents kill dozens every month. You've heard of miners crushed under collapsing earth or drowned when a dam bursts. The rivers downstream are choked with silt, ruining farms and native fishing grounds, but no one in charge cares. Profit comes first. As evening falls, you trudge back to your tent, passing the saloon's flickering lanterns. Inside, men gamble away their dust, drink themselves blind, or pick fights over nothing. You steer clear. Last week, a card game ended with a knife in someone's gut. Instead, you sit by your fire staring at the stars. They're brighter here, untouched by city lights, but they don't bring comfort. You're starting to wonder if you'll ever strike it rich or if you'll end up like so many others, broke, sick, or dead. The gold rush isn't just about gold. It's about survival in a world that chews up the hopeful and spits them out. You've got another day ahead, and it'll be just as brutal. Maybe you'll find a nugget tomorrow. Maybe you'll join the majority who leave empty-handed or don't leave at all. As the days blur into weeks in this unforgiving gold rush world of 1849, you're deeper in the diggings now, your claim a muddy trench along the American River. The initial thrill has worn off, replaced by a bone-deep fatigue that never quite leaves. You've teamed up with a couple of other miners, a grizzled veteran from Missouri and a young kid from New York, wide-eyed and clueless like you were when you arrived. Partnerships are common. Going solo means risking everything to thieves or accidents. But trust is fragile. You've heard too many tales of claim jumpers, armed men who muscle in on productive spots, daring you to fight back. Last week, a dispute nearby ended with a shotgun blast. The winner kept the claim, the loser got a pine box. Your routine is grinding. Rise at dawn, choke down whatever scraps you have, maybe jerky and hardtack if supplies hold out. Then it's back to the sluice box, rocking it endlessly to separate gravel from potential pay dirt. The water's freezing, seeping through your boots, and by noon your legs are numb. Blisters form, pop, and infect. Without proper care, a simple cut can turn gangrenous. You've seen men hobble around on swollen feet, refusing to stop because quitting means starving. Medicine? A joke. Camp doctors are usually quacks peddling snake oil. Bottles of alcohol mixed with herbs that do more harm than good. Laudanum for pain, but it hooks you fast, turning strong men into trembling wrecks. The camp's grown, a ramshackle town of tents, log cabins, and false front stores thrown up overnight. Merchants are the real kings here, gouging prices on everything. A shovel that cost $2 back east? $15 now. Flour's $40 a barrel. You've traded half your week's gold dust for a new pickaxe, feeling robbed but knowing you need it. Inflation's rampant. Gold's everywhere, but so is greed. Gamblers set up tables under canvas awnings, luring miners with poker or faro. You steer clear after watching a friend lose his entire stake in one bad hand, then drown his sorrows in whiskey until he passed out in the mud. Diversity defines the camps, but it's a powder keg. Chinese workers, often in groups for protection, keep to themselves, speaking in hushed tones as they methodically work their claims. They're efficient, using bamboo poles and baskets to move earth in ways that baffle the Americans. But the bigotry is relentless. Coolies, the whites call them derisively, blaming them for low yields or high taxes. You've witnessed a gang of miners corner a Chinese man, forcing him to pay the foreign miner's tax on the spot or face a beating. The tax, enacted by the new California legislature in 1850, is $20 a month, more than most make in a week. It's selectively enforced. Chinese pay every time while Europeans often skate by. Pogroms erupt without warning. In 1852, the Chinese War in Yuba County saw hundreds driven out, their tents torched, belongings looted. Bodies float downstream sometimes, no questions asked. Not just the Chinese, Mexicans and Chileans faced the same. They were here first, skilled from silver mines back home, teaching gringos how to pan properly. But resentment builds. Laws like the tax target foreigners, code for anyone not white and American. Native Californians suffer worst. The gold rush is their apocalypse. Tribes that lived sustainably for generations are overrun. Miners poison rivers with mercury from amalgamating gold, killing fish stocks. Hunting grounds are stripped bare. Diseases ravage villages. Smallpox alone kills tens of thousands. And the violence. Bounties on native scalps, state-funded militias raiding camps. In 1851, the Mariposa Battalion drives the Awanichi from Yosemite Valley, burning their homes. It's ethnic cleansing, plain and simple, clearing land for more claims. You're starting to feel the isolation. Letters from home take months to arrive, if at all. The Pony Express won't start until 1860. So news is stale, rumors passed around the campfire. Politics back east feel distant. California's rush to statehood in 1850 amid the rush, skipping territorial status, but slavery debates rage. Here it's survival politics. Who controls the water for sluicing, who polices the claims. Vigilante committees form, like the San Francisco Committee of Vigilance in 1851, hanging suspected criminals without trial. Justice is swift and often unjust, fueled by paranoia. By afternoon, a storm rolls in, common in the foothills. Rain turns the camp to a sea of mud, your tent leaking like a sieve. Flash floods are deadly. Last month, one swept away a dozen men and their gear. You huddle inside, mending clothes or sharpening tools, listening to the downpour. Boredom breeds vice. Opium dens pop up, run by Chinese merchants, offering escape in smoky haze. Morphine addiction spreads, numbing the pain but ruining lives. As night falls, the camp comes alive with lanterns and laughter from the saloons. Fiddle music drifts out, drawing lonely souls. You might join for a drink, but caution wins. Syphilis and gonorrhea run rampant, spread through the few dance halls that double as brothels. Women here are entrepreneurs or victims, some making fortunes running laundries or eateries, others trapped in exploitation. You've panned a little more gold today, but it's fool's gold for most. The rush peaks in 1852 with $81 million extracted, but by 1855 it's waning. Corporations dominate with industrial methods, leaving independence like you scraping by. You're tougher now, scarred by the experience, but the dream's fading. Will you strike it big, or join the broken men heading home penniless? As the weeks turn into months in the relentless grind of the California Gold Rush, 1850 now, you're still clinging to your claim, but the shine's long gone. Your hands are callous claws, your back a knot of pain that never unties. The Missouri vet in your partnership grumbles about heading south to new strikes in the mother lode, while the New York kid's enthusiasm has curdled into quiet despair. He's coughing blood now, probably tuberculosis from the damp tents and crowded camps. You've buried 2 men this month alone. One from a cave-in during a hasty dig, the other from a fever that turned his skin yellow and his eyes vacant. Graves are shallow here, marked with crude crosses or just rocks. Names scratched if anyone's left to care. The rush is evolving and not in your favor. What started as a free-for-all for independent prospectors like you is turning corporate. By 1850, hydraulic mining's the game changer. Massive nozzles blasting water at hillsides, eroding tons of earth in hours. It's efficient, pulling out gold by the bucket load, but deadly. You signed on with one outfit for steady pay, $3 a day if you're lucky, but the risks are insane. The high-pressure hoses can slice a man in half if they slip, and the undermined cliffs collapse without warning, burying workers alive in mudslides. You've pulled survivors out, their lungs filled with silt, choking on their last breaths. The companies don't care. Labor's cheap with new suckers arriving daily. Mercury's used to bind the gold, quicksilver they call it, and it poisons everything. Miners shake with tremors, their minds fogging from the fumes, while rivers downstream run toxic, killing wildlife and sickening farmers. The environmental scars are everywhere. The once clear American rivers a murky slurry. Fish belly up from the sediment. Entire valleys are stripped bare, looking like war zones. Native tribes already decimated lose more. Their salmon runs destroyed, their sacred sites blasted away. You've heard stories of the Modoc or Maidu fighting back, ambushing mining parties, but it's futile. The state militia's called in, funded by taxes on the very gold they're protecting. In 1851, Governor John McDougall declares a war of extermination against natives resisting encroachment. Bounties of $5 per scalp, paid from public funds. Massacres follow. At Clear Lake, over 100 Pomo people slaughtered in one raid, women and children included. It's not glory. It's genocide, clearing the way for more claims. Camp life hardens you further. Winters are brutal. Snow piling up in the Sierras, trapping you in canvas hovels with nothing but a thin blanket and a sputtering fire. Frostbite's common. You've seen toes amputated with a rusty knife and a slug of whiskey for anesthesia. Summers bring drought, water too scarce for sluicing, forcing shutdowns and starvation wages. Disease never lets up. Cholera's back, ripping through like a demon. Diarrhea so violent men die dehydrated in their sleep. You've boiled your water, but it's no guarantee. Opium's your only painkiller, smuggled in by Chinese traders, but it claims souls too. Addiction spreads. Men waste away, trading gold for pipes in hidden dens. Social tensions explode. The foreign miners' tax ramps up in 1852 to $3 a month, then $4, hitting Chinese hardest. Collectors are thugs, often former miners themselves, extorting with guns. Riots in Calaveras County see Chinese camps torched. Dozens killed or driven into the wilderness to starve. Mexicans fare no better. The Greaser Act of 1855 labels them vagrants, justifying arrests and deportations. Even among whites, class divides sharpen. The haves, store owners, bankers, live in relative luxury while you scrape by. San Francisco's booming with brick buildings rising from the mud, but it's a den of vice. Fires ravaged the city 6 times between 1849 and 1851, started by arsonists or accidents in the wooden shacks. Each rebuild brings more opportunists. You're making just enough to eat, but the dream's dead. Most 49ers head home broke by 1852, tails between their legs. Some strike out for new rushes, Australia's Gold Fields call, or Colorado's Pikes Peak in 1858. Others stay, turning to farming or wage work in the growing towns. California's population explodes from 14,000 non-natives in 1848 to over 300,000 by 1860, fueling statehood and economic power. But at what cost? The rush extracts $500 million in gold, billions today, but leaves a trail of ruined lives. Women arrive in greater numbers, some as mail-order brides or entrepreneurs, but many end up in brothels, victims of the male-dominated frenzy. STDs rage unchecked. Syphilis scars faces and minds. By 1853, you're considering quitting. The easy placer gold's gone. Deep shaft mining requires capital you don't have. Hydraulic operations dominate, polluting on an industrial scale. Rivers like the Yuba are dammed and diverted, creating man-made disasters, floods that wipe out downstream communities. The ecological damage will last generations. Eroded topsoil, mercury-laced sediments still toxic today. Natives are pushed to the brink. Treaties signed under duress confine them to scraps of land, their cultures fracturing. As another sunset paints the Sierras red, you sit by your fire, weighing your poke of dust, barely enough for passage home. The gold rush built empires for a few, broke bodies for the many. It sped America's westward march, but on foundations of greed, violence, and loss. Tomorrow you'll decide. Dig deeper or walk away. As the years grind on in the fading fever of the California gold rush, it's 1854 now, and you're a shadow of the hopeful soul who arrived 5 years ago. Your claims played out, yielding only dust and disappointment, and you've bounced between hydraulic crews and odd jobs just to scrape by. The Missouri vet packed up months ago, heading for rumored strikes in Nevada's Comstock lode, whispering about silver veins that might outshine gold. The New York kid? He didn't make it. His cough turned to consumption, and you helped bury him in a hillside plot. His family back east none the wiser. Death's a constant companion here. Camp graveyards swell with the young and ambitious, claimed by accidents, ailments, or anguish. The rush is dying, and the land shows it. What was once a frenzy of picks and pans has consolidated into industrial scars. Hydraulic mining's everywhere. Cannons of water ravaging the foothills, turning rivers like the Feather and Yuba into poison sludge. Mercury contamination's rampant. Miners call it the shakes. Nerves firing wildly from exposure, minds unraveling. You've dodged it so far, but you've seen men drool and tremble, unable to hold a tool, reduced to begging in the streets of Sacramento. The companies push harder, working men 12-hour shifts in the muck, with cave-ins claiming lives weekly. One blast gone wrong, and a wall of earth swallows a crew. Survivors dig with bare hands, pulling out broken bodies under the bosses' indifferent eyes. Safety? A myth. Profit margins matter more than men. Towns have changed too. San Francisco's a city now, rebuilt from ashes with grand hotels and banks, but the underbelly's as rotten as ever. Fires still rage. Arson for insurance scams or rivalries, and the Barbary Coast district's a hell of saloons, opium dens, and Shanghaiing sailors for forced labor on ships. You've ventured there for supplies, dodging pickpockets and press gangs that drug drinks and wake you on a voyage to China. Women have more presence, some thriving as business owners. Lotta Crabtree, a child performer turned actress, dazzles crowds with songs and dances, earning more in a night than you do in a month. But many are trapped. Chinese women trafficked into brothels, facing abuse and disease in cribs along the alleys. Venereal plagues spread unchecked. Doctors peddle mercury cures that rot teeth and bones, offering false hope. Discrimination's hardened into law. The Chinese, now over 50,000 strong, build communities like Chinatown in San Francisco, but violence shadows them. The 1854 Supreme Court case People versus Hall bars Chinese from testifying against whites, greenlighting murders and thefts. Mobs in Shasta County lynch workers accused of stealing jobs, their bodies swinging from trees as warnings. Mexicans and Chileans flee south or assimilate, their land seized under dubious claims. Natives are ghosts now. The 1851 to 1852 treaties promise reservations, but they're broken instantly. Gold found on protected land means eviction at gunpoint. The Round Valley massacres see Yuki people hunted like animals, bounties paid per head. It's systematic erasure, the state spending $1.5 million on militias to pacify tribes, all while miners cheer. You're broke, your poke empty save for a few ounces traded for passage. The Rush's output plummets, from $81 million in 1852 to half that by 1855. Newcomers still trickle in, but the bonanza's over. Some turn to farming in the fertile valleys, planting wheat or vines that will birth California's wine country. Others drift to cities, becoming laborers or merchants. You decide to head home, joining the exodus of defeated dreamers. The overland trail's easier now with stagecoaches and supply posts, but cholera still lurks, and bandits prey on the weary. Sailing back around the Horn, you reflect on the toll. Friends lost, health shattered, fortune elusive. The gold rush ends quietly by 1855, but its echoes reshape America. It swells California's population, fuels the economy with gold that stabilizes the Union during the Civil War, and accelerates westward expansion. San Francisco becomes a Pacific hub, Levi's jeans a global icon born from miners' needs. But the legacy's dark, environmental ruin that lingers. Rivers still recover from silt and toxins, and cultural wounds. Native populations crash from 150,000 to 30,000, their land stolen. Anti-Asian laws pave the way for the 1882 Exclusion Act. The American dream myth hides the reality. For every millionaire like John Sutter, who ironically went bankrupt, thousands suffered. As you sail away, the Sierras fade, a beautiful but brutal reminder. The rush wasn't romance. It was raw ambition clashing with reality, forging a nation through sweat, blood, and broken promises. You survived where many didn't, carrying scars that tell the true story.